Disclaimer: this content is only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. I always thought I knew everything about my husband. After 7 years of marriage, I figured there were no more surprises left. We had fallen into a routine: work, dinner, sleep, repeat. Not that I minded. I loved our quiet life. But sometimes, in the silence, I'd catch myself wondering, where did the passion go? Was this just how love settled down with time? It was a rainy Thursday when everything changed. I came home late from work, exhausted and soaked to the skin. As I stepped into the house, something felt different. The lights were dimmed, and soft music played in the background. At first, I thought maybe he forgot to turn something off. But then I saw the rose petals trailing from the front door, down the hallway, all the way to our bedroom. My heart skipped a beat. This wasn't like him. My husband, Daniel, was many things: responsible, caring, predictable. But romantic? Not in the fairy tale sense. He'd always said grand gestures weren't his style. Yet here I was, staring at a trail of petals like something out of a movie. The bedroom door was slightly open. Candlelight flickered through the crack, casting a warm, golden glow on the hallway floor. I hesitated. Part of me wondered if this was a dream, or worse, a prank. But as I pushed the door open, I saw something I'll never forget. He stood there, dressed in a crisp white shirt, holding a small velvet box in his hands. Behind him, the room had been transformed. Fairy lights danced along the ceiling, and soft pillows were scattered around the bed like clouds. The scent of lavender filled the air. It was magical. But what he said next made my knees go weak. "I know I haven't always shown it the way you deserve," he whispered, looking straight into my eyes. "But tonight, I just want to remind you, you're still the woman I fell in love with." I couldn't speak. My mind was spinning. Why now? What brought this on? Was there something he wasn't telling me? And what was in the box? My breath caught in my throat as he stepped closer. I didn't know whether to cry, laugh, or run into his arms. But just as he was about to open the box, a sudden knock on the door shattered the moment. We both froze. Who could it be this late? That's when everything started to unravel. Before I continue, have you ever experienced a moment where someone completely surprised you in the best way possible? Drop your answer in the comments below, or tell me, what's the most romantic thing someone's ever done for you? I'd love to feature some of your stories in the next episode. Also, vote in the poll. Do you believe romance can reignite after years of marriage? Stay tuned for part 2. Things are about to get even more intense. Daniel looked at me, his smile fading slightly as the knock echoed through the house again. His hands tightened around the small velvet box. I could see the worry flash across his face, just for a second. It was enough to shake me. Was this surprise not just about love? Was something else going on? I stepped back into the hallway, the rose petals now feeling less like a fairy tale and more like a question mark. "Are you expecting someone?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He shook his head. "No. No one." His voice was quiet, but there was something uncertain in his tone. The knock came again, 3 sharp taps that didn't match the mood of the night. A chill ran down my spine. "I'll get it," he said quickly, setting the box down on the nightstand and walking past me. I followed him down the hallway, my heart pounding louder than the music still playing softly in the background. I wasn't sure if I was more afraid of who might be at the door or what Daniel might be hiding. When he opened it, I saw a woman standing in the rain. She looked about our age, maybe a little younger. Wet hair clung to her cheeks, and she clutched something tight to her chest. Her eyes immediately met mine behind Daniel's shoulder, and her expression changed, from tense to something closer to shock. "Oh," she said, almost to herself. "I didn't realize you had company." I stepped forward, suddenly feeling like I was intruding in my own home. Can we help you? I asked, glancing between her and my husband. Daniel turned slightly, blocking more of the doorway. This isn't a good time, he said to her, his voice lower now. She gave a bitter little laugh. It never is it? Then her eyes shifted to me again. I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to interrupt anything. I just needed to give this to him. She held out an envelope. Her hand was shaking. Daniel didn't take it right away. He just stared at it, jaw clenched. I felt like I was standing in the middle of a puzzle, missing all the key pieces. Who was this woman? Why did she know Daniel? And what was in that envelope? After a long pause, he finally reached out and took it. She gave him a small nod, then walked away into the rain without another word. No goodbye. No explanation. He closed the door slowly, then stood there, still holding the envelope. I waited, expecting him to speak, to explain. But he didn't. Instead, he turned to me with an unreadable look on his face. I can explain, he finally said. But he didn't open the envelope. Not yet. Everything felt suddenly heavy, like the room, the petals, even the candlelight. What was supposed to be the most romantic night of our lives had taken a strange turn. And deep down, I could feel it. This was only the beginning. Before the next part, what do you think is in the envelope? Drop your guesses in the comments below. And do you think the woman at the door was someone from Daniel's past, or something more? I'm reading every single comment. Daniel sat on the edge of the couch, envelope still in hand, staring at the floor like he was trying to find the right words buried in the grain of the wood. I stood across the room, arms folded, heart racing. The candlelit bedroom now felt like a distant memory. Romance had been replaced with a storm of confusion. Who is she, Daniel? I asked quietly, trying to stay calm. But I could feel the weight in my chest growing heavier by the second. He finally looked up at me, eyes full of something between guilt and fear. Her name is Rachel. We knew each other a long time ago. I waited for more, but he didn't offer it. You said you'd explain, I reminded him. So explain. Why was she here? Why did she bring you that? My eyes dropped to the envelope. He hesitated, then set it down on the coffee table like it might explode. It's not what you think, he said, but his voice didn't carry much conviction. I picked up the envelope. It wasn't sealed, just tucked in. I didn't open it, though. Part of me didn't want to know what was inside. Part of me feared everything might change the moment I did. She said something about timing, I said, watching his reaction. Like this wasn't the first time she's tried to reach you. He didn't deny it. Instead, he rubbed his hands over his face and leaned back with a deep sigh. It's complicated. Try me. Silence filled the room, heavy and tense. The soft hum of the fridge and the rain tapping the windows were the only sounds. My mind was spinning with questions. Who was Rachel really? Why tonight of all nights? And what was Daniel not telling me? Just then, my phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. A text. Unknown number. The message simply read, "He's not the man you think he is." My stomach dropped. I slowly looked up at Daniel, who hadn't heard the buzz. I didn't say anything. Not yet. I needed to understand what I was walking into. Now I was caught in the middle of two truths, and I didn't know which one to believe. Before the next part, what would you do if you were in my shoes? Would you read the envelope or wait for him to talk? Comment below. And who do you think sent the text? I'll be featuring some of your theories in the next video. I stood there, the phone still in my hand, reading the message over and over like it might change the more I looked at it. He's not the man you think he is. My heart pounded louder than the rain outside. I glanced at Daniel, who was now looking at me, confused by my silence. What's wrong? He asked, his voice low and cautious. I didn't answer. Not yet. My thoughts were racing. Was this some twisted joke? Was Rachel trying to scare me? Or had Daniel really been hiding something all along? He leaned forward. Talk to me. I slowly set the phone down and looked him in the eyes. Is there something you're not telling me? Something important. I kept my tone steady, but inside, I was unraveling. His jaw clenched again. I told you it's complicated. That's not an answer, Daniel. He stood up, running a hand through his hair, pacing now. I didn't want to bring the past into this. Into us. I thought it was over. What exactly was over? I asked, stepping closer. Because I'm standing here trying to understand why a woman showed up in the rain with an envelope and now someone is texting me from a blocked number. Do you think this feels normal? He stopped pacing and looked at me, defeated. Rachel and we were together before you. Years ago. It ended badly. She wanted more. I didn't. But she never really let go. And the envelope? I pressed. He paused. I don't know what's in it. But she handed it to you like it mattered, I said, eyeing the envelope on the table again. It just sat there, quiet and full of questions. He finally picked it up, staring at it like it held all the weight in the world. I didn't ask for any of this tonight, he said softly. I wanted to surprise you. I wanted to fix us. I wanted to believe him. I really did, but something still didn't feel right. And the message, it wasn't just a coincidence. Someone wanted me to know something. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Again. Neither of us moved. It rang a second time, then a third, each chime heavier than the last. I looked at him, and he looked at me, and in that moment, I knew. Whatever was behind that door was about to change everything. Before I reveal who's at the door, what do you think is going on? Is Daniel telling the truth, or is there more to the story? Drop your theories in the comments. And would you open the door, or run? The doorbell echoed through the house again, but this time it wasn't just the sound, it was the silence that followed. The kind of silence that presses down on your chest. Daniel and I stared at each other, both frozen, both waiting for the other to move first. Then, slowly, I stepped forward. I'll open it, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Daniel didn't stop me. He just stood there, holding the envelope like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. I reached the door and peeked through the peephole. My breath caught. It wasn't Rachel. It was a teenage girl. Soaking wet, no umbrella, arms crossed tightly over her chest. She looked barely 18, if that. She had the same eyes as Daniel. I turned back toward him. Do you know her? He hesitated. That pause told me everything I needed to know. Open it, he said quietly. I did. The girl looked up at me, her lips trembling. Is Daniel here? She asked, her voice soft, unsure. He's my father. I couldn't speak. I couldn't even blink. Behind me, I heard the envelope slip from Daniel's hands and land softly on the rug. She stepped inside, rain dripping from her clothes. She didn't look angry, just scared and hopeful. I didn't know where else to go, she said. My mom said I should find him if something ever happened. Where's your mother? I asked, heart racing. She's gone, she replied. She passed away last week. I've been trying to reach him, but he never answered. I found Rachel on Facebook. She said she'd help. I turned back to Daniel. He looked pale, completely still. You knew? I asked, the words shaking. He nodded slowly. I found out about her years ago, but her mother didn't want me involved. I respected that. I never thought. He stopped, swallowing hard. The girl reached into her backpack and pulled out a folded letter. This is from my mom. She said I should give it to you myself. Another envelope. Another secret. I felt the ground shifting beneath me. Everything I thought I knew was unraveling. Before the next part, what would you do if someone showed up claiming to be your partner's child? Do you think Daniel should have told the truth earlier? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And do you think the girl is telling the whole story? Daniel sat on the edge of the couch, staring at the letter in his hands like it might disappear if he blinked. The girl, his daughter, was curled up quietly on the far end, still shivering, her wet backpack by her feet. I stood by the window, arms folded tightly across my chest, trying to make sense of everything. The air was thick with a kind of tension that didn't need words. He finally opened the letter, hands trembling. I watched his eyes move across the page, line by line, and then slowly, tears filled them. He didn't cry often. I don't think I'd ever seen him cry like this. She knew, he said softly, voice breaking. She knew I still loved her, but she also knew I wasn't ready to be a father when she told me. She said she didn't blame me, but that if anything happened to her, I owed our daughter the truth. He handed me the letter, and I read it. It was raw, honest, full of emotion. The kind of letter you only write when you know your time is almost up. Her words weren't angry. They were full of love for her daughter and, surprisingly, for Daniel too. The girl, Emily, finally spoke. I'm not here to ruin anything. I just wanted to meet him and to know if I had a place. I looked at Daniel. This man who had planned the most romantic night of our lives, who had held so many secrets, and yet somehow still stood there, willing to face it all. He walked over and sat beside her, pulling her gently into a hug. You do, he said. You always have. The moment felt like healing, like truth. But just as I started to breathe again, my phone buzzed. Another unknown number. The message read, "You believed that too easily." I looked up, heart skipping a beat. I scanned the room. Everything looked calm, but someone out there still knew more than we did. Someone who didn't want peace. Someone who might still be watching. Before the next part, what do you think that final message means? Is someone else involved? Could Rachel still be hiding something? Drop your thoughts below. What would you do if your world was unraveling and someone in the shadows kept pulling the strings? Daniel sat beside Emily as I quietly stepped outside to gather my thoughts. The air was still damp from the rain, the world around me calm, but my mind was racing. The final message on my phone kept replaying in my head. You believed that too easily. It shook me not because I thought Emily was lying, but because it meant someone else, maybe Rachel, still had a hold on our lives. Back inside, Daniel was helping Emily settle into the guest room. She looked more relaxed now, even smiled once. Whatever her journey had been before knocking on our door, it was clear she was finally safe. Daniel later told me he would reach out to Rachel for the full truth, something long overdue. As for us, something shifted that night. The romance he had planned may have been interrupted, but the honesty that followed brought us closer than any candlelight dinner ever could. He opened up in ways he never had before, and in return, I chose to forgive. Not because he was perfect, but because I saw how hard he was trying to do right by everyone, including a daughter he barely knew. Weeks passed, and Emily slowly found her rhythm in our home. She even helped Daniel revive the garden he had abandoned last spring, and together, we started to build a life that included her. Trust didn't return overnight, but the foundation for it was being rebuilt day by day. As for the message on my phone, I never did find out who sent it. Maybe it was Rachel, maybe someone else. But I realized not every mystery needs solving. Some things are meant to stay in the past, as long as the future is being written with truth. This story didn't end with a perfect romance, but with something better, growth, connection, and a chance to start again. How did this ending make you feel? Would you want a sequel exploring Emily's relationship with Rachel, or the truth behind that final message? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming next.